I think we're back to things working again. All right, so what we're doing is so we're looking at the structured versus like text generation. And so I didn't want to completely duplicate everything because object like structured output takes all of the same inputs as text generation. The only difference is like the output's going to be an object, right? So if we just, let's grab our OpenAI API key, set that real quick. And then we'll just turn off our fixturing. Come down here. All right, so we can see that we're now getting like this associative array response. And what we have kind of built up here is we have like a weather tool, a search tool, and then we build up a schema that we want to just output. So I just wanted to do something like super dead simple for like a test. Just this was also like my smoke test as I was developing, just to make sure that I was like getting something, like actually outputting something. So it takes all of the exact same arguments, and that's just through the through this builds text request trait. So I think all the tests probably need to be copied over from the text generator test, because it's really kind of all the same thing until we get down to like object, like decoding objects. So, and these tests all need to get like rounded out before I let it rip. So why don't we just close everything and start from scratch. Don't do those changes. We'll hop in there. All right, so we just copied over all the tests from the text provider. And I think this is fine. Swap out this for all right. Sick. So we do have an error. Let's go take a look at the let's double check what that error was. So we're accessing the schema before it's initiated. So I think what we should do is, where was that? 68. All right, so that's where we're like outputting the structured requests. So we've got these like request objects that get passed to the providers. So if we go look at OpenAI for like when we do a text request or like for structured object, we have these like request objects that we pass in. So we have like the Fluent Builder. The Fluent Builder is really just fluently building up these request objects. And with these request objects, we just pass those to the providers, and then the providers, the way I've decided to organize this is through like handlers. So we have like a structured handler and Um, So just to kind of like make that a little bit more visually appealing, we have like a structured handler, and then that structured handler then goes through and like does some checks to check on like which structured mode the model supports. So for OpenAI, their newer models support structured output, and their older models, they support like this JSON mode. And that's actually how a lot of the other providers implement structured output, is through a like JSON mode. So we do some like mode checking. If it's JSON, we have to append a message with the text. Like they actually, OpenAI does a check to look to see that like you actually have a message in the message chain that says, hey, respond with JSON. So it does like a string check for the word JSON. And so we just put together a simple message and we say, hey, respond with JSON in the following schema. We pass the schema and is in like a JSON encoded object. I wonder if it handles it better if we pretty print. Maybe we'll do that. So let's see where we left off. All right, so we append, so if it's JSON mode, we have to append the message for JSON mode. Then we actually go off and like send the HTTP request. And with that, we send it to the chat completions endpoint, and we use like a bunch of data off of the like request to build that up. Response format, we have to like map that response format because there's different values that are part of that request based on what mode that you're returning. So if it's like structured mode, then we're gonna output like this object for the JSON schema with like what the schema is, whether we want it strict or not. I think I need to log a to-do here. So I've already kind of introduced this pattern with tools. Actually, if we go to, let's see, is it in the text handler? So the tool, we allow you to like add per meta for different providers. So let's see if I've got it in the docs. No, because I put it under provider specific stuff. So with tools, you can pass in this like with provider meta, and we pass in that we want like strict for true inside of provider meta. And then when we map the tools, I believe it's in the tool map. Yeah, we like get the provider meta and then like determine whether we want like strict or not for this. So we'll adopt that same pattern for strict mode for this. So that was a kind of a good catch, just stepping through this. So then we do a little bit of error handling once we get the data right here. You know, if it's just responds with a JSON object with the error key, we know to like map that error out. and then we cast it to, like, the last thing we do is we return a provider response object, and the generator then knows what to do with that provider response object and whether to like map back over it again to send like any sort of like tool responses and anything back to the LLM, so that it knows to take that response and like take like a tool response, for example, and like send that back to the LLM to then use that information to like finish its text completion. So structured output, all that round away. Structured output like does everything that a text can do. It just outputs an object instead. And so I'm bound to have like some duplication in here, but I'd rather have some duplication than like the wrong abstraction at this point. So what I can do is I can finish up structured output, then I can kind of take a look at the package as a whole and figure out how I can maybe refactor it to be a little bit more uniform between the two of them. But really, you know, if we're talking about what Prism's going to support ultimately, we have text and structured output. So really, we're only going to have like two levels of duplication for like two units of duplication, right? So that's not so bad, especially when I live in the rule of threes, right? So if we do something 3 times the same way, that's where I'm going to start looking for an abstraction across different things. All right, so let's hop back in here. We were looking at a structure generator test, right? So we have this test error that schema is getting accessed before. I mean, I guess we have duplicate value. Like we have default values for almost everything in here. However, this is like pretty important. If you don't have a schema, we can't do a structured request. So I believe this was on like 68. So yeah, right in here. I think we should throw an exception here. Let's make this nullable. Cool. Just checking my like line wrapping and line length. So let's see. We have like we're gonna throw an exception when that's not set. Let's add some parens in there. All right, cool. So now we've got an error. Like now we throw an exception there. I think that's great. I think we need to go and like whenever we do something exceptional like that, I like to go in and follow it up with running a test. It throws an exception. Cool. Get nothing there. Oh gosh, it's gonna be so nice with PHP 8.4 that just released, not having to do these like extra parentheses around new objects. So I guess let's take a look at this. We're adding a test provider for almost all of these. I think we should make a refactor here. Do and we can just register. And I think we can do rector adds this like super long type hint. So I think I don't think it's long enough to justify that. I think this looks fine. Right, let's take a look at our line length. Yeah, so I've got this like guide for line length. I think it looks fine. It says this, that's good to go. Cool. Let's see. I have to add a schema to like all of this. So let's just let's take a look at what we have in the docs. Let's just steal this schema. Ooh, that's a typo. Item or items? I think items makes sense since it's like an array of, and like the array has items. I think that makes more sense, perhaps. So we'll roll with that. Anyhow, we need to add in, not there. With schema. Oops. And like that's also part of the reason why I am like for so much duplication here is being able to get like the correct type hinting out of your IDEs. So whereas I could just like take the text response and like no-op like the with schema option and no-op the like object output, like this could just be like null for text generation. Like I figure kind of having that split gives us like really specific types that we're returning and passing around. So that's one of the reasons too. Okay. I guess we need to go look at the test provider. All right, so this is fine. You know what? Let's go look at provider response. So it only ever returns text. All right, we're gonna expect it to be an array. We got that, and then just taking a look at like what other tests are in here and what client retry with schema. Ooh, that's why I had it. So what was happening there was we were referencing like this provider inside of this closure, and that was actually going up to the Prism manager looking for like a provider on the Prism manager object, which doesn't exist. So we just kind of like chain an assignment here, so that we have like the provider variable also. We can pass that through, and then now everything's like all good to go. So we should be able to do that. Continue working our way through these. This is not that easy to read. Alright, that looks way more readable. Just gotta like clean things up as you go, you know? Like I could just be like ripping through this and not really caring, but all this stuff like really matters. To me at least. Even though this is like just tests, like I want this all to like go well. setting schema. But we are like right here. Oh, is it? Now that we've just been jumping around a whole bunch, let's get going on this test. We have the schema. All right, that test passed. It's the next one that I think is failing. The test names are similar enough that it's actually trying to like match on both tests and running both of them, so this one again. Cool. Both these tests are passing. I'm like really sloppy with my escape key, so I keep like moving, like shifting stuff around. Like I spam my escape key all the time, and that just like it's a habit I'm trying to break. It's super annoying, like having to constantly accidentally move text around. Let's see what we got going on here. Let's make this test a little bit more realistic, because it's definitely not now. We need to do you know what, let's just do this. We'll hit provider response. And then we got a capture group through a comma, and we're going to replace that with so our text is going to be make up some usage. Let's just stop and actually let's just grab that. Cool, our formatting kicked into place once we got valid there. We got our schema, we got the response. Let's run the test. Let's go in here and that is not what we copied. Where is it pulling that from now? Here. Cool. We're passing, but I think should be checking. this is what we need to be checking instead. That one was checking a message content, so that should be correct. I don't. Man, I don't know how I feel about this test. I feel like it's just like testing so much stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just gonna let it go for now. All right, so we got we'll do this provider. Let's see. Bet. All right. All right. All right. All right. Tool and max steps. So what are we asserting here? The text should be empty. The finish reason is tool calls. See, this is why we write tests for this stuff. I'm just assuming that the response should be an object always, but it isn't, because it also depends on what the stop reason is. So let's see, this is on structured response builder 61. All right, so like what we did there is we just said, I don't know, somewhere around here. All right, so we made a quick update here. Actually, I'm glad I'm looking at this a second time. I'm gonna break this up a little bit. So what we do is now we're also just checking for the finish reason to be stop. So like we're waiting until we try to decode it until we're like for sure like we're stopping because it's a stop reason rather than trying to decode on a like tool call or something, because if you're not using max steps, then we're not iterating on the call again and then taking that like tool response and sending it back to the LLM. because that's basically what this test is doing. Is we're not using max steps, so it's not iterating and like resending the tool response. So we're checking to see that the finished reason is tool calls. Let's check the test name to see if this makes sense. It generates a response from the driver with tools and without max steps. What's the next tab? Correctly uses max steps. All right, so this should be iterating back on itself. So if we get rid of this and we say this provider with response, gotta add with schema. My marks don't always set, so I gotta like double check it sometimes. We're gonna go grab this schema again. What do we call that? Forecast summary. Oh. Bet. All right, and we want to check the object. Sick. Aha! Look at that. Sick, 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 sick. Oh. Switching up the music a little bit. Some T-Pain, Pete and Bass. Okay. Let's keep jamming here. All right, so we got the structure generator test. Let's check on the rest of our... Ooh. Don't like that. Oh, this might be a... What's it mad about here? In context of class structure generator. Oh no. You know, this is what I get for trying to like write proper types for this stuff. It is if that fixes it, I'm gonna be frustrated. Nope, didn't. All right, cool. Man, it's like it can't resolve the fact that I imported closure here and then use it's mad about it in all of them. Okay, so like that one works. Fourteen errors. 7. Sick. Oh, that fixed a whole bunch of errors. Okay, cool. Cool. All right, then we gotta look at Nope. Yeah, I literally have no idea what's going to come out at the end of that because it's user defined. Okay. Using PHP stand on level 8 is super fun, but you want to know what? It has saved me more times than I can count. So we're just going to roll with it. Alright, what is it mad about now? Order object. This is a response, so don't know what that's going to be. Oh, it's going to be mad about all these, isn't it? Because they're also nullable. Oh, I guess it handles it. Sorry, not a crazy exciting stream, just jamming through errors. So all right. Should be good. Ah. All right. Now. So we got JSON mode. We've got hey, thanks Peak Flow. You know, for everyone else who doesn't see this is coming from YouTube chat, really excited for the project. Glad you're making it. Thank you so much. I'm having a blast making it. This is, you know, it started kind of as something just to scratch my own itch for building stuff, and I figured might as well like make this a fun project for everyone else to use too. Let's do let's finish OpenAI before we move on to anything else. So let's see, we're like an hour, getting to be about an hour in. Let's do like provider meta for OpenAI and just try to like wrap up the OpenAI integration for now, and then we might wrap it there for the day. So let's take a look at we need to go to, so what we're going to do just before we move on, what we're going to do is we're going to implement what we've done here for provider specific options, strict tool schemas. We've added to the tool this like with provider meta where you can pass in like a provider enum and then you know, pass in different meta options, and then we can access those options to do provider specific things. So for OpenAI, when you use the structured outputs, I don't know, this isn't I don't know. So structured outputs, they've got that available for like tool arguments as well, but then they also have like structured outputs as far as like actual outputs. And then for older models, they have JSON mode, but what they have for structured outputs is the ability to have like strictness to your schemas where they like strictly adhere to it. And I want to be able to provide that. So what we need to do is add on our builds text request. We need to, if we like look at our tool object, we have this provider meta. So we'll just duplicate that over here, and we have this with provider meta option. We'll just snag that. Put that here. And then we need to look at our text request, and we should add in here oops. Oops. All right, so now on our request object, we have provider meta. And so what we can go through and do is go through to OpenAI, and we can say for structured outputs, let's see what we have. I think we need to go to our request. Oh, this is text request. I guess we got to add it to either of them anyways. Okay, got that added there. Let's see what we broke. I'm assuming we're in a broken state. Structured generator on 61. Yes, here it is. This is what I was looking for. Sick. All right, so we have provide a meta added everywhere. Let's just good. We're not in a broken state anymore. And so let's go to OpenAI, handlers, actually. I have an idea to kind of like refine this. So we need to add this method here. Is that valid? I think it's valid. think that'll work. Turn the music up a little smidge. Hopefully it's not too loud. I'm just not talking so much, so I want to make sure that there's at least like music for y'all to listen to. I think I need to reach for... Oh, I don't know how to test this even. Yeah, I think I do. this is not valid.
Trust me, I'm a dance till the sun is up. Secretly the one saying turn it up. I ain't on no PDA, I keep it safe, no time for players. Yeah, I ain't no fool. So as soon as I decide to make you mine, yeah, oh, I could play 'em like voodoo. Feel the faith from far away, it's fair to say, yeah, I'll be like old school. I guess I'm too shy. Don't wanna lie to you. Guess I'm too shy. So I just hide. Don't wanna lie to you. So I stay quiet. Guess I'm too shy for you.
All right. And then what we can do is I think we can grab this. Actually, let's just grab.
Yeah, I got my grips on, but it's gonna be messy. Thought I better swerve it. Blowing up my DMs, now I see your missed call. Thought I better swerve it. Yeah, I got my grips on, but it's gonna be messy. Thought I better swerve it. Blowing up my DMs, now I see your missed call. Thought I better swerve it.
They're like, P, what's the word? P's with your bird. Up inside, I put the whip in, took all in we swerve. She just left you on the curb. And when we turned, she holds her purse. She told me you're the fucking worst. I'm on a wave, you're on the nerves. I see you jealous when we serve. Cuss me and get cursed.
So now I've got a recorded response. So like this is gonna hit. So this is a little janky. Like I don't like PHP VCR. I mean I love the concept. The library is just. It's like. Let's go take a look. Before I completely talk out of my ass here. Right, like this stuff, I guess this has seen like a little bit of traffic, but overall like a lot of stuff hasn't been touched in a while. So I've just kind of like made my own implementation. It's a little janky. It works though. So we can like set fake response sequences, we can like record responses. And this works with like multi-step stuff. So we can like playback sequences. So like as like with tools, as it the generators like iterate on themselves and send tool results back to the LLM to inform its output. This handles all of that. Works fine enough. Like I said. We like prevent stray requests, we fake the response sequence, so I should be able to reach in. I believe. Let's just go look at the docs. Assert sent, and that gets the request. Oops. Okay. This name is ridiculous.
Did I fail you? Did I curse it all along? And now tomorrow you'll be gone. Did I love you? Did you ever tell me more? I wasn't sure. Is it about me at all? Did I
Oh my
fail
goodness.
you?
All of a sudden I can't
Did I
type.
curse it all along?
What's going on?
Tomorrow you'll be gone. Did I love you? Did you ever tell
Oops.
me more?
That's
I
right.
wasn't sure. Take you with me wherever I go. I keep you company. But what do I know? You take no word from me, but I know that I
Emotionally confused, that feeling is clouding my views, and I got used, and now I don't know who to trust. My heart went so cold because of lies that I was told. Now I'm alone, I don't remember how to love. Blaming all my flaws on you when I should have supported you. I now realize I never done enough. Behind those going crazy, letting insanity take me. You sedate me when I hear you say,
I'll take you with me wherever I go. I keep you company, but what do I know? You take no word from me, but I know
all your friends, they judge me, asking why you even love me. They don't understand or ever see my pain. Blinded by the lights and all the celebrity gossip, got me treating relationships like a game. Staring in the mirror, I see nothing hasn't changed, but everybody seems to think I ain't the same. All I hear is voices saying,
you take no word from me.
I hear them loads, voices, I hear them prototype of words that take control of your body, mind and your soul. Stroking on your ego, dare you to go this road is what they say, knowing you go. Now they got you on your own, deceive, is what this game is. Poker face, you're bound to fold. I just in lies you were told, this story never gets old. You was young, wise and was bold, now you're fading, that life is cold. It's got me not answering the phone, I'm too scared to get you involved.
Keep me with you. Have I been dreaming that you're mine? No tomorrow. I need you to survive. You did something I never knew that I could be. Now you're gone, and I'm back where I belong. Did I fail you? Did I curse it all along? No tomorrow you'll be gone. Did I love you? Did you ever tell me more? I wasn't sure. I'll take you with me wherever I go. I keep you company, but what do I know? You take no word from me, but I know that I still care. You take no word from me.
Ah. Sick. All right. I think on that note, we're going to, I think on that note, we're going to wrap things up for today. Not the most exciting stream, but we definitely got through a fair amount of stuff. We added provider meta for OpenAI. We fixed a bunch of tests. We fixed a bunch of PHP stand errors. And we wrote a bunch of tests for like the Fluent Builder and everything for structured output. So I think I've got like a heap of cleanup to do at some point, but we're like 95% done with structured output for OpenAI. So I think the game plan is going to be to wrap up and like really solidify the like structured output for OpenAI, and then I'm going to like merge and tag that, then go off and work on the other provider support. Like that way we can deliver something like, most people working with structured output probably going to be using OpenAI, so we can get that out the door, and then we can then like circle around to Anthropic and Mistral and Ollama. All of them support like a JSON mode output, so we can try using that and then kind of see where the results are. There's one kind of fallback option that we could look at, which is like kind of hijacking tools and tool arguments, since those do support like schema'd structures. So but with JSON mode being supported, I went and looked yesterday, all of our supported providers, which right now, I'm going to go take a look and see, because I'm not remembering off the top of my head. Let's see. Right now we support Anthropic, Grok, XAI, Ollama, like OpenAI, like all of those providers support at least JSON mode. So we'll be able to slip in there, and like that kind of guarantees a JSON response. Doesn't make sure that it can like adhere to the schema, but we can do our best bet. And then I think after I implement it for all of the providers, we may go back and look at adding some like automatic validation feedback, so that if it comes back as invalid JSON, or we can assert against the schema, and if that like comes back as not following the schema, we can feed those errors back to the LLM, just like we take tool responses and feed those back. So that way we get like this automatic validation loop that you can use max steps with to then just kind of like feed that back and try to get the best output that we can from structured output. So Peak Flow, thanks for watching, really appreciate it. Thanks everybody for watching. Hopefully we'll be back tomorrow with another stream, probably another hour and a half, and we'll just kind of like try to really wrap up and tighten up OpenAI if I don't get to it later today. So thank you all, we'll catch you soon.